Hi everybody, today we are going to learn about medieval manuscripts, specifically from the British Isles. So I have two goals for this video. The first is that you will have an understanding of the process and the vocabulary that are associated with making a manuscript, and the second is that you'll understand why manuscripts were made in the British Isles. So just to get a look here, this is a map of late medieval Europe. This is about the 5th century. This is after the Roman Empire fell. So you can see that the territory has been separated into a lot of separate territories, whereas before it was all under the Roman Empire. So in the British Isles, we're specifically looking at this area right here. So even when the Roman Empire was still at its height, you can see that the British Isles was pretty far removed from where everything else was. The capital of the Roman Empire was Rome, and that was kind of in this area here in Italy. A lot of the people were congregated in this area, and you can see that that is a really long ways away from the British Isles. They didn't really go up there. The people from the British Isles didn't really have an influence of the people from here, and that's especially important in the art. So they didn't really see a lot of the art that was happening, and that was being made in the capital of the Roman Empire. So this is a plan of a monastery. A monastery is a place where monks lived and worked. And I'm showing you this because monks were primarily the people that made manuscripts. Also called scribes. Scribes are not limited to monks. Scribes are anybody that made a manuscript, but in the British Isles, that was monks. So as you can see from this plan of the monastery, the monks had everything that they needed in this one space to live and function in their own little society. They have a school, they have places to grow their food, they have their church, and they have scriptoria, which were workshops for the scribes. And as you can see, that would be right down here. So now we're going to look at some more manuscript vocabulary and more about the process of how to make an actual manuscript. First, we have scrolls. Scrolls are just a continuous page of writing. This is the only way that information was recorded before manuscripts. So the fact that a manuscript has actual pages is actually very revolutionary for this time, because before, it was just one big page that was rolled up. So parchment, that is pieces of dried animal skin. So it was used for the pages of the manuscript. So the animal would be skinned, they would stretch out the skin and it would dry, and then they would use that material, they would cut it down and use it for the pages. A bifolium is a single piece of parchment. So that was after the animal skin had been cut up nice and neat, right to the size that they were going to use for the pages. And then the bifolium was folded in half to create 2 pages or 4 page faces. So an individual page, just one side is called a folio. Each folio had a number and then had an R or a V. Recto means front, and so an R would be with the number on the front side of the page. So as you can see down here, there's a 2 and an R because this is the front side of this page. Verso means back, and a V would be then placed on the back side of the page. So on the first page here, it says 1V, and that's because that would be the back side of that page. It was really important that the R and the V were on there because if the manuscript ever fell apart, just like a page number, you would be able to tell where the pages went back in order. A gathering would be 3 bifolium that are sewn together. So the bifolium would be folded in half, like this, and then they would take 3 of them together and sew them up along the edges. So a real manuscript page or piece of parchment is not this thick. It's just kind of to show you how they would put them together. And then they would sew them together along the crease here. And then that would be one gathering. The spine held several gatherings. So all the gatherings of the book were sewn together in the same way that a gathering is sewn together. And that creates the spine. And then the spine holds it all together. The codex refers to just the manuscript itself or the bound pages. And I really like this picture because you can see the thickness of the gatherings here, especially this first one. So you can see that it's not just one page here, but instead that gathering of 3 pages. Illuminations are pictures that decorated manuscripts. So here's just an example. Sometimes they were a whole page, sometimes they were around the text, sometimes they were in the text. A lot of times the pictures are not as prevalent as the text in a manuscript just because they take longer and they use a lot of ink that was used to write on the manuscripts. So now we're going to look at some examples of manuscript pages specifically from the British Isles. So first we have a page from the Lindisfarne Gospels. This is super intricate and very detailed, as you can see. This one little box right here shows you right here just the amount of detail that went into making this giant page. And so this page has this detail all around it, just like you can see right here. So most of the books that were being made into manuscripts were gospel books. So the pages like this that had such intricate decorations were usually used as a cover page for a specific gospel book. So the monks would use this page, they would make this page, and then they would use it. And they made it so intricate and detailed because they wanted to focus their mind before they read the gospel book. So by making it so intricate and so detailed, they thought they could contemplate by looking at this image and kind of focus their mind away from earthly things and focus it on reading the Gospels. So here are 2 more examples from the Lindisfarne Gospels. Again, super detailed, very intricate, and probably took a long time to make. And as I previously mentioned, monks would make these books in their scriptoria or in the monastery, and they were meant to be used by monks too. So these books were not available to the public. They were just for the contemplation for monks. So when they were making these, they knew that they would also be using them. So that's why they made them so detailed so that they could really focus and contemplate using these images. This is one last example of that really intricate detail. This is from a different book, the Book of Kells. Again, you can just see the insane amount of detail. This would have taken them a long time, and that is why most of the manuscripts are writing and not pictures like this. Lastly, we're going to look at 2 pages that have figure drawings on them as well. So around the outside of these 2 pages, you can see, again, there's that really intricate detail, that intricate knotwork that would have taken a long time. And then on the inside, we have figures. So these figures do not look that realistic. They look pretty stylized, or again, just not realistic. And they did this on purpose. So like I said, they didn't have a lot of influence from the Roman Empire in their art, so they may not have known how to make a realistic figure, but a lot of people that did write on the manuscripts did have some knowledge about drawing and about how to make things look realistic. Well, they made these images look stylized on purpose because they thought that by making them look not of this world, it connected them to the divine world. So since these were, again, cover pages for the gospel books, they used them for the contemplation that these books are not of this world, but instead they are divine. So those are some of the reasons why manuscripts were made in the medieval times in the British Isles.